Good morning, everyone. Here I am R. Velvuri, ME CSE, Assistant Professor of CSE Department, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. Here I am going to present a video presentation of Unit 3 software testing and how we are going to test your software products. So first, before going into a topic, first we'll understand what is mean being a testing. Testing is a process of exercising a program with the specific intent of finding errors before delivering to the end user. Before you're delivering the product to the end user, so you have to find the without error-free errors of your product. So that is called as testing. So what is the main goal of your testing? So first, there are systematic guidance. You should form a systematic guidance for designing a test. There are two methods for designing a test. First, we have to have a verification and validation. So what is meant by verification? So are you building a product, right product? That is called verification. Validation, are you building the right product? That is called validation. So whether you are building the product rightly or not, it's called verification. Are you building right product? End thing, that is called as validation. So verification is a process oriented, validation is a product oriented. Verification is done by the customer, validation is done by the developer. So first, before getting into how you're going to get into a testing, first you need to understand what is meant by verification and validation for the testing process. As I said, verification is a process oriented, validation is a product oriented. So this approach testing can be done by this techniques called white box testing and black box testing. So these techniques have a systematic guidance for designing the test. First, you need to have the internal logic of a system components. First, you need to understand what is the internal logic of a software components. That is internal logic to understand by only the white box testing. Your external functional requirements, your input and output domains will be uncovered by the black box testing. This we will not find in the black box testing. So first we understand what is meant by testing, what is meant by verification, what is meant by validation, and we saw what is the general guidance of a testing. Now we will see how we have to see the testing, in what perspective you have to view the testing process. As I said, your software is tested in the two different perspectives. That is internal program logic, that is done by your white box testing. It is also called as glass box testing. So you're going to test only the internal program logic, all your how you're going to have the conditional looping, how the programming is done, whether any functional requirement problem error is there, any systematic error is there, synthetic error is there, is all done by the white box testing. Next, your software requirements. What are the general requirements? What are the general functional requirements to run your software, to run all your requirements is satisfied or not based on the customer requirement? This is all done by the black box testing. So these are the two techniques mainly we use for software testing to find the intent, to find the maximum number of errors with minimum number of effort and time. So whatever the errors you're finding, your main goal you should have the minimum number of the people effort should be there, and also minimum number of time should be there. This is the main goal for finding the errors. The minimum number of effort and the minimum number of time should be there for finding the errors. Now we are going to see what is it. Now we saw about testing perspective. Now we are going to see general testing principles, how we are going to before getting into a testing, what are the principles should be followed. All the tests should be traceable before the customer based on the customer requirements or not. So as I said, there are general framework activities for software development. What are the general software framework activities? First one is the communication, planning, modeling, construction, and deployment. So what does it mean by construction? Communication. The communication is done usually by the team member and the customer. The customer is going to give the requirements, and the team members and the person who is going to develop will get the requirements based on the questions. What are the type of the product he needs for the customer? He will get all the questions, and based on the answer given by the customer, he will take the requirement. So once the customer requirement communication is done, next we have to plan. How many team members are there? How long your project is going to work? What are the risk schedule is there? Once it's market, what is the budget of the product? This is all you have to plan. Once planning is done, you have to go for modeling. That is designing. Analyze modeling, data modeling, business modeling. So what does mean by business modeling? So business modeling based on the enterprise communication, you have to do what are the budget, what is the risk is all done by the business modeling. What is the data modeling? How your data is going to collect, what are the data is needed for software testing, what is the inbuilt metadata, what are the data have metadata. This is all analyze modeling by using the graphical representation. You have to draw this modeling because modeling should be correctly done, because next stage of modeling is coding. If you've done the coding, the error cannot be made easily. So in the coding, in the modeling stage itself, all the intent of error should be free. Then only the developer will be easy for him to write the coding easily. Clear? Once after the modeling is done, next we move on to coding. The coding is done based on the designing, what type of coding, what type of language we can give, whether object-oriented programming language or application-oriented programming language, what type of language, either like example C, C++, Java, .NET. So what type of programming language you are selecting for your product, that has to be done. Once the coding has to be done, then only we'll move for the testing principles. The testing is done by the automatic testing, manual testing, all the tests. So the inbuilt tools are there for testing process. That technique only we see is a white box and black box, and also we see about the verification and validation. And finally, it comes to deployment. Once all your coding testing is done, finally the product is it goes to the end user. There's a deployment that should be maintained. Clear? So for this purpose, how the testing should be there? What are the general principles? As I said, your testing should be traceable. It is satisfying all the customer requirements. Frequently, you have to trace your product. That is called as first principle. Second principle, the testing plan should be planned before your testing starts. Before the testing starts, you have to plan the testing and how much case you're going to do, how long you're going to do testing, where and all you're going to testing, what is the risk analysis. The general principle is we apply for the software testing is Pareto principle. The general principle we use here is a software testing. Your testing should be done from the smaller stage to larger stage. Your testing should begin from the smaller. You have to see the nook and corner where error free, because you are at the end user should have the error-free product. So from the starting of your testing should begin from the unit testing to the system testing. That is why the systems testing should begin from smallest progress to larger progress. Here, the testing should be most effective and should be done by the independent third party, because the customer also should do the testing. The developer also should do the testing, and also third party, independent party also should do the testing. Then only you will get the error-free product. Now, we saw about generals, what is mean by definition of testing. We saw about the perspective, how the perspective we have to see the testing. We saw about the testing principles. And next we see about the testing strategy. So how we are going to see what are the general strategy you are going to use for the testing. So here, as I said, you have a different modules. Your whole product we can't do into at a stretch. We cannot carry your product into one. So you're dividing into you're dividing into one modules, as we call it as a component. What is a component? For example, I say if my Gmail is a one complete product, one complete project. So here I'm going to divide my project into sub modules. What is my submodules? First, I have submodules. First module is my, as I said, is a composing. The composing is mail is the first module. Second module is sent item. If I compose the module only, I will see the data in my sent item. So my compose module is integrated with my sent item. So that is called as each and separate module we call as a one particular module. So overall, different modules. So one project will have many modules. So each and every module should be separately tested as unit testing. So that is called unit testing. Once all the module is tested separately, we should integrate all that module, and we should do integrate testing. That is called integrate. All the modules integrated together, how long it is connecting from one module to other module, how the data is getting transferred from one module to other module. This all should be, all the data are correctly transferring or not. This all should be checked by the integration testing. Next, we move for the validation testing. What is the validation? Are you building correctly or not? Are you building right product or not? Was the customer is asking correctly or building or not? This all should be validated by the developer. Finally, the system testing. Once all your product is integrated, validated, it moves to the system testing. What is system testing? We have alpha testing, beta testing, acceptance testing, maintenance testing. What is it? What is the alpha testing? Alpha testing is it is done test by the who is doing the developing the product will be done by the alpha testing. What is the beta testing? The customer who is getting the product, he will test the product. That is called beta testing. Acceptance testing, the product who use the end user, that person who use the system testing. That is, then finally it comes to the maintenance testing. So these are the general testing strategy of your testing process. This is all done in the code generation, design modeling, analyze modeling, system engineering. Now, as I said, what is meant by unit testing? I said, so what and all you will be do in the unit testing? What and all you will test in the unit testing? So in each and every module, what and all you will test? So I will test my interface, how the connection is connected from one module. In particular module itself, how the data are connected. What is the local data structure I'm using? What are the boundary conditions? What is the independent path for each and every module? What are the error handling path? If suppose one error is occurring, so if this error occurs, what is the alternate solution I should take? If the error occur, what is the alternate solution I should take? So this and all is the error handling part. So each and every unit testing, each and every module should test your interface, your local data structure, your boundary condition, your independent path, error handling path. So these are the general modules should be tested in all the test cases. So how will you test this? All these test cases you will done by the drivers. Now, what are the common errors when you test these errors? What are the common errors you will get? You will misunderstand the arithmetic precedence. Suppose, or you will have the incorrect arithmetic precedence, or you will have the incorrect initialization. So before starting into you should have the variable should be initialized. So you will have the incorrect initialization, or you will have the precision inaccuracy, or you will have the incorrect symbolic representation of an expression. So all these errors, the common errors you will occur, that is misunderstanding of arithmetic precedence, incorrect initialization, precision inaccuracy, incorrect symbolic representation of an expression. These are the common errors you will get. How will you check these errors? So as I said, you have a manual testing and also automated testing. In automated testing, how will you do? You will use testing using drivers. You will test using drivers. All these tests, common interface, local data structures, boundary condition, independent path, error handling path, all these test cases will be done by the drivers. So each and every module will have a stub. So that will be done by the drivers. Now, this is called as integration testing. I mean, unit testing. In unit testing, we saw what are the test cases, what are the common errors, how you will test all these test cases we saw. Now we see about the integration testing. What is called as integration testing? Integration testing is a systematic technique for constructing the program structure. So when you're constructing one particular program, you should have the systematic technique. So we should have a systematic approach. Then only you have a detailed quality of your project. You'll have the detailed study of your product. When you have the systematic technique, when a new person enter your project, he will understand what type of product you're using, what are the requirements you're getting. So he will understand the complete knowledge about the product. So that in that case only we are checking the integrated testing with the systematic technique for constructing the program structure. So the main goal, whatever the testing you're using, the main goal is to uncover errors. Before interfacing, before connecting from one module to other module, you should have the uncovers errors. So the main objective is that you should have the error free before connecting from one module to other module. So what is the objective? First, you should do unit testing. Then only you should build the structure from one by one. So what are the options we can have for integration testing? So we can have two techniques, two options we can have. One is a big bang approach. Another one is an incremental construction strategy. What is the incremental strategy? Well, as I said, we have a different modules. First module output can be taken by the second module. Second module output can be taken by the third module. Third module output can be taken by fourth module. That is incremental construction strategy. So I'm using my first module output. I'm using my second module output can be used by third module. So this is called the incremental construction strategy. Now, in this integration testing, we have a two approach, top-down integration and bottom-up integration. What is a top-down testing? So I should check the integration testing from A is the parent of B or not. B is the parent of C or not. C is the parent of D and E or not. So top module is we should test with this all this stuff. Whether A is a parent to B is a parent with C. So I should check my top module. That is called top-down integration testing. So all these stubs are replaced at one at a time. That is called with a depth first search. So when I'm adding the new modules, all the modules are integrated with the some subset of the test. So when I'm adding a new module, all the modules should be added with the subset. And I should verify they are parent to the previous module or not. So what is the bottom-up integration? So first I check they are parent or not. Here from bottom-up integration, I should go whether D and E is the child of C. C is the child of B. B is the child of A. I'm going to check from bottom up. So the common things I'm going to cluster. I'm going to replace the common things with for what are the modules we're going to integrate one together. That is called as cluster. So as I said, what is meant by integration testing? You're going to integrate all the modules to one. How I'm going to integrate? Using two approach, that is top down and bottom up. What is a top down? I'm going to check whether all the top modules, I'm going to check whether all the modules is going to, all the modules are check, A is the parent of B is the parent of C is the parent of D. So I'm going to check. Now, and bottom up integration, I'm going to check from down whether D and E are child for C is the child for B. I'm going to check the child parent for bottom up integration. I'm going to check the parent for top down integration. Now, so we saw about the unit testing, integration testing. Now, how I'm going to order my testing, in which order? So they have a validation testing, alpha beta testing, system testing, recovery testing, security testing, stress testing, performance testing. What is the validation testing? I'm going to ensure that all my product is correctly done or not, or I'm building the right product or not. Or I'm satisfying all the user needs. I'm satisfying all my clients and user needs or not. This is done by validation testing. Alpha beta testing, I'm going to only focus on the customer usage. Alpha is done by the developer, beta is done by the customer. How the customer usage is going to be done. System testing is going to validate the complete system, and fully integrated software is going to be done by the system testing. What is the recovery testing? If suppose my software is getting failed, how I'm going to recover from that particular failure? Next, I move on to security testing. So what is security testing? I'm going to verify the protection mechanism built in the system, how it's going to protect it from improper attacks. If suppose any improper attacks comes inside to your product, how I'm going to protect my mechanism, how I'm going to verify my mechanism. That is called security testing. What is meant by stress testing? Executes a system in a manner that demands resource in abnormal quantity, frequency, or volume. I'm going to execute a system in a manner that demands a resource. What is a finally performance testing? I'm going to test the runtime performance of software within the context of an integrated system. Now we detailedly study about what is meant by white box testing. As I said, white box testing is also called as glass box testing. So this test case design method used to control the structure of the procedural design to derive the test case. So white box testing, the software engineer can derive the test case that guarantee that how you're going to test he should guarantee that all the independent parts within the module should be exercised at least one. So all the modules should have the independent paths, should have visit the path at least once. He should guarantee the path. So all the modules should visit the independent path at least once. Second, he has to exercise all the logical decision on the true and false sides. He has to see the logical condition, if condition, while condition, whatever the logical decision is taking, he has to check whether it's all in the true and false sides, all the Boolean yes or no sides. And he has to execute all the loops at the boundaries and within their operational bounds. Exercise the internal data structures to ensure their validity. You should exercise all the internal data structure to ensure the validity. All the internal logic condition should be checked correctly. The data structure should be checked correctly to ensure the validation. Now, basic path testing. What is the general basic path testing? The basic path testing is also called as a white box testing. This technique was proposed by the Tom Cap. The basic path method enables a test case designer to derive the logical complexity measure for the procedural design. This measure is used as a guide for defining the basic set of the execution path. Test case derived to exercise the basic sets are guaranteed to execute every statement in the program at least one time during testing. So your test case should be derived at least one time in every statement. Every statement one should be tested at least once during testing case. So this is about your flow graph notation. So how is the flow graph is going to work? The general sequence of the flow graph is, if it's if condition, I'm going to travel from A to B, B to C, and from C to D, D to E. This I'm traveling in if condition. While loop, this is a while loop, where each circle represents one or more non-branching program language or source code statements. If while loop this is not working, this while loop condition fails and it goes to until statement. This is case statement. What is the cyclomatic complexity? So if you have drawn the analyze modeling, you have done the modeling, each and every graph and graphical representation should be done by the cyclomatic complexity. What is cyclomatic complexity? Cyclomatic complexity is a software metric that provides a quantitative measure of the logical complexity of a program. So each and every program should measure the logical complexity, how the complex the program is, how the risk is there. Well, you have to measure your software metric, the quantitative, how you will measure using the value. Or what is a value? That is a quantitative measure. The cyclomatic complexity is a software metric that provides a quantitative measure of the logical complexity of a program. When used in the context of the basis path testing method, the value computed for cyclomatic complexity defines the number of independent paths in basic sets of a program. So when you are using the contents of basic path testing method, the value should be computed for cyclomatic complexity. Cyclomatic complexity defines the how many number of independent paths in one particular program is there. For that case only we are going for cyclomatic complexity. Your cyclomatic complexity defines how many independent path is there in one particular program. Clear? So how it provides us with an upper bound of the number of tests that must be conducted to ensure that all the statements have been executed at least once or not. This should be done by the upper bound case. That is the number of tests should be conducted to ensure that all the statements have been executed at least once. Independent path. Now we saw about what are the techniques we use for white box testing. First technique is cyclomatic complexity. Each and every program should check the logical representation of a program to calculate how many independent paths is having in one particular program. That is called as cyclomatic complexity. Independent path. What does mean by independent path? An independent path is in any path through the program that introduce at least one new set of processing statement or a new condition. In each and every independent path, any path through the program that introduce at least one new process statement, one new condition should be checked, should introduce one new condition. An independent path must move along at least one edge that has been traversed before the path is defined. So here, your independent path must move along at least one edge that has been traversed before the path is defined. Now, see the flow graph. So here, each and every node should have the edge. So how you are traveling by the independent path, that is called as edge. Here, your node we have 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4, 5, 11. Here, these are the circles we call as a node. The way the independent path is taking, we call as edge. The closed region we call as a region. So now, how I'm going to take my flow graph. Based on this flow graph, how I'm going to calculate my cyclomatic complexity. How I have my independent path. See the independent path, then I can have 4 paths here. So here I am taking each and every path should travel at least one. Same path should not travel again. So I'm taking as 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 7. From 7 I'm taking to 9, 10, 10 to 1 and 1 to 11. Again, second path, I'm taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 1, 11. Next, I'm taking 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 1, 11. So these are the 4 paths we're having. Note, you are noting that each and every path introduces a new edge. Clear? So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 1, 11 is not considered because it is not traversing the independent path. So here in this graph, we have 4 paths for the basic set of 4 graph. From this graph, how we are going to calculate the cyclomatic complexity. Your cyclomatic complexity has a foundation in a graph theory. How we are going to calculate? The number of regions of the flow graph corresponds to the cyclomatic complexity. How many regions you have, that matches your cyclomatic complexity. So from these 3 ways, you can have any one of the calculation for calculating your cyclomatic complexity. First thing is you can calculate with the number of regions. See in this graph, we have how many number of regions? We have 4 regions. So R1, R2, R3, R4. So from this we have so we can have the cyclomatic complexity as 4. Or second method, you can calculate with the flow graph. V of G equal to E minus N plus 2 is the formula. E is the edge, N is the node. Edge, how much edge we have? Here, edge, how many edge we have? We have 11 edge with 9 nodes. See the 11 edge with 9 nodes. So the formula is, so 11 minus 9 plus 2. So we have a 4. Or other method for calculating cyclomatic complexity, P plus 1. V of G is equal to P plus 1. What is P? It's a predicted node. How we are going to have the predicted node? So this is the formula for general formula. First was with the regions. Next we are calculating with the edge and node. Next we are going to have the predicted node. With this 3 we can calculate your cyclomatic complexity. Any of the method you can use. So finally the cyclomatic complexity for flow graph is 4. Now how I'm going to derive my test case? Using the derived or design or code as a foundation, you're going to corresponding the flow graph you're going to draw. My cyclomatic complexity of a resultant flow graph. So linear independent path I have to derive. Next, I have to prepare the test case. And I should, after preparing the test case, I should execute all the test case. Once all the test cases have been completed, the tester should ensure that all the statements in the program have been executed at least once. The program should ensure that at least once. Now, this is the graph matrix. Now, the software tool that assists in the basic path testing. See here, from 1 to 3, what node is traveling? A. From what is the edge? A. From 3 to 4, edge B. 4 to 2, C. 3 to 2, D. 5 to 3, E. 4 to 5, F. 5 to 2, G. So this is how I'm going to connect my node with my graph matrix. Once, link weight. Now how I'm going to calculate my link weight. By adding a link weight to each and every matrix entry, the graph matrix can become a powerful tool. So when I'm adding a weight to all my flow graph, my graph matrix will become a powerful tool. The link weight provides additional information about control flow. In the simplest form, the link weight is 1 or 0. You're going to, if the node is present, it is 1 or it's going to be 0. So how I'm going to assign from one link weight to interesting properties. The first property is the probability that the link edge will be executed. First, the edge will be executed. The processing time expand during traversal of a link. The memory required during traversal of a link. The resource required for traversing of link. So what and all needed to traverse a link? You need a probability of a link. Processing time you need the memory required, and you need a resource. These are the 4 things, important properties you need for the link weightage: probability, processing, memory, and the resource. Now, we saw about the testing how techniques for a cyclomatic testing flow graph. Now we see control structure testing. Although you have given link weightage, basic path testing is very simple and it's very highly effective. It is not sufficient at all. Because it's more effective, this basic path testing is not sufficient at all. The other variation of control testing should be tested. How we are going to do? By condition testing. Your condition testing is a test case design method that exercises the logical condition in a module. A simple condition is a Boolean variable or relational expression. The relation expressions can be with a less than symbol, greater than symbol, non-equality symbol, or any of the following you can take from this symbol. The compound condition is composed with the two or simple conditions, Boolean operators, and parentheses. Now, what are the general types of error in the conditions? Boolean operator error, Boolean variable error, Boolean parenthesis error, relational operator error, arithmetic operators errors. Now, we saw about the condition testing. Next, we move on to data flow testing. What does mean by data flow testing? The data flow testing method selects the test paths of a program according to the location of the definition and uses of a variables in the program. So I'm going to select my test path and I'm going to check my data flow correctly, all the variables present or not. Next, I'm going to assume that each statement in a program and that each function does not modify the parameters or global variables. I'm going to check all my statement whether they should not change the parameters or global variables. Simple data flow testing strategies require change to be at least once. Now, what are the loop testing? We have four, each in a white box technique, we also have the loop testing. 4 different cases of loops can be defined. Simple loops, concatenated loops, nested loops, unstructured loops. Now, set of tests for simple loops, we have to skip the loop entirely, or only one pass through the loop, or 2 passes through the loop, or m passes through the loop. Either 1 can pass, or 2 can pass, or many number can pass. So you have to condition should have n minus 1, n or n plus 1 can pass the loop. Now, we saw about the white box testing. Next, we use what is meant by black box testing. What are the techniques we use for black box testing? As I said, white box testing will be to have the internal structures testing, whereas black box testing only the functional requirements. It is also called as behavioral testing. It enables the software engineers to derive the sets of input conditions that fully exercise all the functional requirements of the program. So it is not an alternate solution for white box technique. This is different and white box technique is different. Rather, it is complementary approach to uncover the errors when compared to the white box method. What are the types of errors, general errors we'll have? We'll have the missing function, interfere errors, errors in the data structures, behavior or performance error, or initialization and termination error. This is a graph-based testing for black box testing. We have a direct link. First, as I said, for each and every object, you should have calculate the link weightage. Once the link weightage is calculated, you should have the attribute and functions. Next, what is it? We have checking for the equivalence partitioning. What is the equivalence partitioning? Equivalence partitioning is a black box testing method that divides the input domain of a program into classes of data from which test case can be derived. So equivalent classes, first we have, what are the following guidelines we have to check? You should have the input condition, the specific range, 1 valid, 2 invalid, or the specific valid, 1 valid, or 2 invalid, or with a member of set, 1 valid and 1 invalid. Or if in Boolean, 1 valid and 1 invalid condition. Boundary value analysis. Next, we move on to boundary value analysis. Boundary value analysis leads to selection of test cases that exercise the boundary values. Here, first, you should all the test cases should check with the edges of the class. Now we have to have the comparison testing. What is a comparison testing? You have to going to compare the each and every test case from one module to other module. For example, automobile braking system. You're going to compare with the previous existing system with the current system. Thank you.